Good day and Happy New Year. This is our first YouTube video for 2023. Happy New Year to everyone and hope you all have a great year ahead. And this year, in this video, what we're going to do is going to talk about the new launches in Singapore for the first half of 2023. That means these are the launches that we expect to come out in the first half up to June. I mean, these are rough approximation. We can't really tell 100% whether launches will happen or not. But these are the good ones with pretty good indication they're going to happen. And we're going to go through all these projects one by one in a bit of detail. And we're going to see which one we think are the better projects to buy. And yeah, so as per usual, let's start this video with an introduction of myself.
Director of Outbound Marketing,
Ryan still in Iskandar, Malaysia. So my name is Ryan. Namaste, Ryan.
6,000 incoming supply in Johor. This is
I'm writing. Thank you for attending today's presentation on Iskandar, Malaysia.
So my name is Ryan Khoo. I'm a Malaysian. I'm a Singapore PR. I've been in Singapore for more than 10 years now. Since 2009, I am a property investor, both in Singapore and Malaysia. I own multiple properties in Singapore and Malaysia. I have done quite a lot of transactions in both countries. I wrote a lot of articles for the Singapore media and the Malaysian media with regard to real estate investment. I've been on Property Guru. I've been on ST Property. I've been on HProp. I wrote articles for HProp for some time. And so I consider myself a quite experienced investor. I've made money, I've lost money, I've lost a lot of money in places such as Iskandar, Malaysia, which I'm still passionate about, and I still believe Iskandar, Malaysia will do well. But yeah, today's about Singapore, so let's talk about Singapore today. So in today's video, as I mentioned, we're going to look at project launches for 2023. And why do we like to look at project launches? Because generally speaking, project launches are trend drivers, right? When you look at projects will more or less define the news in the media, right? And from the media, it sort of sets the tone and the confidence for the market. So well, actually, in many ways, you can say that resale transactions in HDB or in the private condo market, these are the actual end user buyers. But for project launches, like I said, they're trendsetters, right? And let's look at some key trends for 2023. Now, number one is you will notice that supply unsold stock by developer is pretty low. If you look at whatever that developers have in hand to sell today, it's pretty low. And you can look at, if you see the yellow circles here on this slide, in 2022 and 2021, the past 2 years, basically whatever developers is not enough. So like in 2021, all the developers sold about 10,496 units and we sold over 13,000. So how does it happen, right? It means actually stock from previous years also gets sold, right? Because from 2020 and 2019 all get sold as well. And you look at 2022 last year, again, the same thing happened. Developers launched about 4,000 units and 6,000 over were sold. So actually, developer don't have a lot of stock in hand, right? So that points to one thing, that potentially developers have no reason or no real reason to drop prices, and a lot of developers still need to buy land to run business, right? So that's point number one. Point number two is a lot of HDBs achieve their MOP in this recent period. That means if you look from 2019, pre-COVID, all the way until last year. In fact, this year's numbers, 2023 is still not so bad. 15,000 is actually not very far away from the general average pre-COVID, right? So a lot of HDBs are getting MOP, which means that they achieve their 5-year occupation period, and there comes the time that for these owners to decide whether they want to sell and buy another place to upgrade. So it's very common, right? So if you see a high number of MOP flats, means the potential of pool of buyers is pretty high, right? Especially in the COVID period where lots of people are looking to get more space or upgrade their homes as the families are growing. And another thing is because HDB prices have been doing pretty well in the past couple of years. So HDB prices have gone up basically since 2020. So a lot of these HDBs are in the money. They can sell and they can buy. They can make profit. They sell the HDB so they have a profit, and they can then upgrade to a private condo. So that's the reason why a lot of this money now then flows into the new launch market. Okay, so these are some key trends to take note. And of course, household income in Singapore is still pretty strong. The Singapore government did a pretty good job providing salary subsidies and supporting the Singapore economy. And I think Singapore only had one lockdown during the entire COVID period. Many other countries, Malaysia, other countries as well, had multiple lockdowns. Like China only just came out of lockdown recently. So Singapore economy actually was relatively sheltered and protected during the COVID crisis and didn't wasn't affected as much compared to many other countries globally. So household income in Singapore is still pretty okay, right? And so most people still have income to upgrade and buy properties. Okay, so the first project that we're going to review, which actually some of you may probably see in the market today. I've done a video about this. To take a look at the link above if you want to take at my YouTube review of Seneca Residences. Now, Seneca Residences is the one at Tanah Merah MRT. Basically, it's the last land plot at Tanah Merah MRT. All the neighboring land plots for condo project is already been used. I mean, unless they cut away that forest clearing right on the other side, but I doubt that will happen. So basically, it should be the last plot in Tanah Merah MRT, and this is just next to Tanah Merah MRT, as you can see on the map, and Tanah Merah in the East Coast. So it's a not bad address. Lots of people stay in this area. Lots of potential pool of upgraders. And one thing interesting you'll notice about this is the land price. The developer MCC Land bought for only 930 PSF. Now today 930 PSF is like unheard of. Everybody now is buying land at above 1,000, 1,001, 1,002 and above, as you will see later. So for MCC Land to get a plot next to MRT for 930 is pretty good. And we already have seen indicative prices that the one bedder will start from about $900 over $1,000. That's not too bad for a project of this location, of this quality. And Seneca Residences, if you notice, is a mixed development. So ground floor, there will be some retail shops. If you've been to Poise Residence in Potong Pasir, also by the same developer, it's a similar design. So there'll be some retail shops on the floor. And again, the plus point of being next to an MRT station, really next to it, even the show house, the sales gallery is just next to the MRT station, quite easy to visit. So I think it's not bad for a new launch in the market today. Attractive land price. And as I mentioned, if you want to find out more, do take a look at the video link that I mentioned earlier. Previews have started, and this is the first project to kick off, and you will probably see the ballot going before Chinese New Year. So not much time left. If you're interested, do let me know. You can drop me a message or a PM or an email, and you can I can show you more about this project in detail later. Only 268 units, but I'm pretty sure Goodbye definitely will sell very, very well. I think the issue, if you put it in check, also don't know whether you can ballot to get it, but definitely hot project, and will kick off 2023 very strongly. So top pick right now if you are ready to buy a project today, right? Next one is Botany at Dairy Farm. This one is in Dairy Farm area, Hillview vicinity. It's along Dairy Farm Walk, which is actually off Dairy Farm Road. This one, the land price also not bad, 980, right? Below 1,000. It's actually opposite the German European School, if you know where that is, right? And not very far away from Hillview MRT. You can walk, it's about 600 meters, but it's not covered, right? It's not a sheltered walk. It is walking along the open road. This area, one thing good is, again, land price is not bad. 386 units. Simland is a developer that tends to build pretty nice stuff. And this area, one thing is you will have a lot of greenery view. At least for now, there'll be a lot of greenery view. You can look into the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve. You can also look at the Upper Pierce Reservoir, right? A lot of projects in this area tend to have this kind of greenery view. It's quiet, right? But the potential part, if you talk about from an investment perspective, is that land prices, that there are actually about 7 land plots around here, if you see my mouse, or around the Botany at Dairy Farm, 7 land plots that the government might release in the future. So when you have up to 7, right, the chances of land prices being bidded higher is there, right? Especially when Simland bought at 980, very likely these people have to buy 1,000 or above, right? And so you have potential price appreciation when these land sites are released. So I think that is the plus point if you look from an investment perspective. Otherwise, if you're going to buy, if you like this area, like Hillview, and you want somewhere that's a bit quiet, I think this is potentially a good buy from that perspective, because the land price is not expensive. Okay, Botany at Dairy Farm. Previews are going to start soon. I think this project also very likely you will see more details coming out in Q1 of this year. Okay, next one is Blossoms by the Park. Now we go to One North. And actually there's 2 projects in this area. They're going to happen pretty soon. I think if not both by half one, you probably get both this year. So the first one is Blossoms by the Park, which is by EL Development, a Singapore developer, and this is in the One North office area vicinity, right? So here, of course, it's very famous for all the offices. There's a lot of office workers here. A lot of people like to buy projects in One North because the rental demand is pretty strong. So if you are an investor and you want to buy something with a strong rental demand, you can consider Blossoms by the Park. Land price by the developers not cheap, 1246 PSF, a little bit on the high side. But then again, I don't expect anything in this area to be cheap. This is an area that is pretty near MRT. Buona Vista MRT is a short walk away, about 300-400 meters, and it's off the vicinity of the CBD, right? And as I mentioned, all the projects here sold very well. It's not a big project, only 275 units, one block. There'll be some commercial on the floor because of this area, right? And all the earlier projects at least have sold very well. I think One North Residences also sold very well. So yeah, but definitely you buy this for rental demand, right? So, and similarly, if you go down a little bit, actually just on the other side, same street down, you have the Hill at One North. This is by Kingsford Development, a Chinese developer. They also bought the land roughly the same price, 1210 PSF. So these two with Blossoms by the Park, they will be the two competing each other, right? They both have their own benefits. I think Blossom by the Park, one thing good is the site is facing North Buona Vista Road. So you have quite good facing. I think you can have a good facing from North Buona Vista Road. So at least that's quite heavy traffic use. So a lot of people will see your project, which I think is the important thing. Well, if you look at the Hill at One North, is a bit nearer to the park, the One North Park, which is pretty nice. And of course, nearer to One North MRT itself. So it all depends on your preference, right? Yeah, but both projects, these are the two, they're going to fight each other, right? Since they're both going to launch around the same time. But the Hill at One North is smaller, only 142 units. So again, I expect both projects to sell very well. Pricing will be similar between the two. But if you're going to buy One North for rental yield and you have a small budget, you can even buy this at the one-bedroom sizes, will probably be above $1 million for a one-bedder here. But if you want to buy one-bedder for rental, I think this is as best a place to buy, because definitely strong rental demand in this kind of locations. Okay, next. This was a project that I thought would launch last year, but I guess it got delayed. Will be pushed to this year. So it finally has a name, which is called the Reserve Residences. I like the name. It's a pretty catchy, exclusive atas name, right? Reserve Residences. This is at Jalan Anak Bukit, right? In Upper Bukit Timah. Actually, the intersection of Upper Bukit Timah to Bukit Timah itself. I think a lot of you know this is basically where Beauty World MRT is, and the developer is a Far East. So Far East actually again bought this site at a pretty good price, 989 per square foot, pretty large site, quite big, and they can build 845 units. And the good thing about when you can build 845 units is that you will have very healthy transactions in the future, a lot of transactions to help give a good market value for your project, right? And this is also integrated development. I think in Singapore, this is probably the 12th one. Yeah, the last one, the 11th one was the one in Pasir Ris, so this is the 12th one. When we say integrated development, it means it has everything. Like it has MRT, bus interchange, it has what do you call it, hawker center, town center. Everything is going to be built into one location. So Singapore only has about like 12 of these right now, right? Other examples would be like Tampines, other examples would be like Jurong East, right? These are what we call integrated developments. So this is going to be the 12th one. So I think it's going to be a very, very exciting, highly contested project. A similar one would be North Point Residences in Yishun back in 2013, right? So you can see a massive shopping mall with some residences on top. And today North Point Residences does very, very well. I'm sure this will do too. This is also one of my top buys for this year, 2023. If you like the location, which is a great location actually, and you have the budget, I think definitely you should come and try and bid for the Reserve Residences when it happens later this year. I think top buy definitely will not go wrong in the future, right? I'm quite excited for this one. This is actually easily one of my top 5 picks for the year in Singapore. Next, for those of you who are looking at freehold and you are okay to buy west, we have something called Terra Hill. So Terra Hill is by Sunway and Hoi Hub. And Sunway and Hoi Hub have this trend in the recent years where they like to buy en bloc freehold projects right? Freehold developments, and then they redevelop into a new project. So that's what Sunway and Hoi Hub, this is a strategy, right? You can see it happen. This year they have two. In fact, I think they've done this already 2 or 3 times in Singapore in the recent years. So this year they have another 2 more to launch. So the first one is called Terra Hill. This is at Yew Siang Road. If you don't know where Yew Siang Road is, it's basically off Pasir Panjang MRT, which is the Circle Line. So near the Pasir Panjang terminal, right? And actually this one, interestingly, you are only about 150 meters away from MRT. You just walk straight down, right? You arrive at MRT already. So actually it's considered quite near MRT. Yeah? I think this is a much shorter walk to the MRT than most people realize. So it looks like going to be a low-rise project, only 271 units. But interestingly, this is freehold. Land price 1318. I guess as per all freehold, there is a freehold premium. Looking at it, the freehold premium today is about $100-200 at least, right? Could be more when it finally launches, but at least $100-200 from other projects, right? No, maybe even 300, right? Because yeah, $200 to $300 difference, right? And we are quite interested to see this one's also going to get details soon. Very likely in Q1 this year, we will have more information. It looks like to be a low-rise project because of the location, right? But freehold and very interestingly near MRT. I think not a bad buy considering the land price. And if you like Pasir Panjang West Coast area, I think this is something to consider. Okay, next one is Lentor Hill Residences. This one is by GoCoLand. Now GoCoLand, why Lentor Hill is interesting is because the first project in Lentor, which was also by GoCoLand, which is Lentor Modern, right? Lentor Modern sold like what 84% on the first weekend, and I think it's probably higher than that right now. It's almost fully sold by now. So if you want to buy Lentor but you missed out on Lentor Modern and you like GoCoLand, and I think Lentor Modern had fantastic layouts, right? If you watch my video on Lentor Modern, GoCoLand does do very nice layouts there. And if you want to buy Lentor and you missed out on Lentor Modern, this is the next choice, which they call it Lentor Hill Residences. Again, it's very near Lentor MRT. Lentor MRT is just like barely 100 meters away. Land price is 1060, similar to Lentor Modern, so it might not be cheaper, maybe about the same price. Again, since Lentor Modern sold very well, I doubt developer will reduce price. So it's around the same price, but you probably have more access to the green area. There's going to be a green area here, right? But those of you who want Lentor, I want to buy the Lentor, is it? But otherwise, the site doesn't have very much else to say. I mean, there's no particular pro or con about this site, right? Land price is about there. And I mean, there are more interesting sites if you ask me to look at, unless you like the Lentor vicinity lah. Okay, next. Now we're going to enter into the CBD area. So for those of you who want to buy in CBD of Singapore, so what choices do we have? I think there's only, 2 right now. If I'm not wrong, there's 2. Both of them are redevelopments. The first one is Newport Residences. Actually is Fuji Xerox Towers. Is an office tower. So CDL basically going to redevelop it into residential, right? So we don't have the land price because this is a redevelopment. 256 units by freehold. It's near the Bernam Street, basically Shenton area, Anson Road, Tanjong Pagar side. Tanjong Pagar MRT is not very far away, but you still have to walk maybe 400-500 meters easily, right? But this is a project for those of you who like to buy CBD and get freehold, 256 units. The other one, of course, is TMW Maxwell, also slated to launch. We already have some details. First half of this year. Yeah, likely the first half of this year. That's why it's in this presentation. Formerly is Maxwell House. So Singhai, which is a Singapore developer, but now I think has Chinese shareholders really. So they bought over Maxwell House. They're going to renew the lease. This one's interesting because it's just opposite Maxwell Food Court. Everybody knows Maxwell Food Court, and also the URA Gallery in Tanjong Pagar, right? It's very near Maxwell MRT. Again, barely 100 meters to the Maxwell MRT, which is the Thomson East Coast Line. So again, a very interesting development. And of course, if you buy here, you get access to all the Tanjong Pagar, the fun stuff in Tanjong Pagar, all the food and the entertainment and all the history and culture. This is very interesting. We don't have a land price because this is en bloc and we don't know what are the terms given by the government. But interesting to see, and all these projects will likely be in the high 2,000 per square foot, if not more. But interesting to see what comes out because a lot of the CBD launches today are all not from government land sales, but have to be developers who are buying off old buildings to redevelop. Okay, these are for the CBD enthusiasts. Okay, now we go to East Coast. Now, East Coast this year, finally this year we will see. Some of us thought it would happen last year, but this is the year 2023, where finally we're going to get a lot of interesting action in the East Coast, right? In Katong, right? For those of you who love East Coast like me, this year we're going to have two sites which are in the East Coast, which are pretty attractive. The first one is in Tembusu Grand by CDL. This is basically Katong area. The shop houses, you know where Punggol Nasi Lemak is, and that area of shop houses, very near the Tanjong Katong Girls' School and the Canadian International School, right? Actually, I think it's the former car park area at the back. It's not near MRT. I guess you still have to need about 700 meters to get to the MRT, Tanjong Katong MRT. So 700 meters is not really walkable. You can walk, but it's quite a far walk. I guess bus stop is going to be 1 or 2 bus stops away. But again, this is a super prime location, very mature, that lots of people in East Coast love and enjoy. So the big site, 640 units. CDL is a developer that again tends to develop pretty nice stuff, pretty good layouts, very efficient, nice design. And only thing, of course, the land price, 1302 is not exactly cheap, but then again, you can't expect anything in the East Coast to be cheap. Last year, the nearest comparison was Live at MB. Live at MB also sold very well. I think again, over 80% at the launch. And now I think there are hardly any units left in Live at MB. Live at MB easily over 2,000 square foot. Also leasehold, not very far away from here. So this one's arguably an even better site, right? So this one will not be cheap either, but expect it to be very highly contested because it's a really nice place to buy if you're familiar with East Coast, right? So Tembusu Grand, Jalan Tembusu, right, which is basically Katong. Okay, but they have a competitor, and the competitor actually is this project called the Continuum. Now, Continuum is actually a bit north of Tembusu Grand. If you compare Tembusu Grand here just now, you just have to go up the same street about maybe 600 meters away. Is the Continuum. Now, Continuum actually is again by Sunway and Hoi Hub. So similarly, what they've done is they bought some freehold older project and they're gonna build condo. And notice, Continuum project also very big, 816 units here. So it's pretty large. 816 just now. The Tembusu Grand is 640. So we're gonna have two pretty big launches in the East Coast. Also consider Katong area, right? Because it's Tanjong Katong Road. This one, of course, Continuum is a bit nearer to Paya Lebar MRT. Again, you cannot really walk. It's still about 1 kilometer plus to get to Paya Lebar. Probably about bus stop is about 2 or 3, right, to get to Paya Lebar MRT. And of course, the land price is not cheap, 1440. So about $100 more than Tembusu Grand, but you get freehold. Bigger project, right? But you have a bit further away from MRT, but I guess both projects are not exactly near to MRT anyway. But this one freehold. And so again, this year, these two, Continuum and Tembusu Grand, are going to be challenging each other, similar to Blossom by the Park and The Hill at One North earlier. So these two projects also are going to be fighting each other. Do they have their plus points? I think they both have their own plus points. I think Tembusu Grand, one thing, is nearer to all the shop house area. So some people may like that conveniences and all the makan. You guys go down, it's over there. Continuum doesn't have that benefit. I think they are not exactly makan places just downstairs, right? From Tembusu Grand, from Continuum, you still have to walk quite a bit of distance to get to Kinex and all that before you get to the food. I mean, it's not very far, but it's still 600 meters compared to Tembusu Grand, which is just downstairs, right? Or just a very, very short 100 meter, 200 meter walk away. But these two interesting projects, I'm personally quite excited for these two. Again, I feel these two are going to be very hot projects this year, just because of location. And I think a lot of people will be asking the question, hey, the Tembusu Grand or Continuum, which one's better? Similar like how they do Blossom by the Park and The Hill, which one's better? So these two will also be very highly comparison. If you're a buyer, you definitely have to consider both if they are both available at the same time. I don't know, maybe one developer may try to launch earlier than the other to try and catch the market before the other one launches, right? But yeah, Continuum is definitely a contender as well. At freehold, right? I think that's a big plus point considering the land price is only about $140 difference than Tembusu Grand, right? But interesting projects to see in this vicinity, and Continuum is also definitely one of my top 5 picks for the year. Okay. And finally, we come to EC. This year, we'll probably only see one EC come to the market, right? There are another maybe 2-3 more ECs, but I don't think they will launch this year. Considering the time frame for EC, the other ECs, this is probably the only EC they will launch for the year. This one is in Bukit Batok West, Avenue 8. It's in the Bukit Batok area, but actually, if you look at it, it's quite near Tengah. Actually, this area is actually Tengah already, right? Tengah itself has its own EC by CDL that sold very well, and that EC by CDL that sold very well. I guess if you were not able to buy that, you can probably come and buy Bukit Batok. It is quite near, right? Although you may not get the Tengah address. I don't know whether Tengah address is that important or not. But if you want to buy EC 375, Qingjian, Chinese developer, but Qingjian so far has done a good job. 662 PSF. Again, all EC today are all above 1,000, 1,002 PSF nowadays, probably 1,003 also. You're not near MRT. Bukit Gombak MRT is also a bit of a distance away. So in that sense, this EC not really here, not really there. But if you like the area Bukit Gombak and Bukit Gombak and Bukit Batok area, and you have a budget for EC, this is the only EC that you have to consider this year, because the other ECs, I think Tenet and the Tengah one all pretty sold very well. Yeah, the other one left is probably the Yishun one. But if you are West buyer, right, this is the only EC for the year, and of course you get all the benefits of buying an EC. Okay, so those are my reviews for the launches for 2023, at least for the first half. To me, the interesting ones is the reserve residences at Jalan Anak Bukit, the 2 East Coast projects, Continuum and Grand Tembusu, just because of the East Coast, and you can hardly ever get a Katong site. And all the Katong sites earlier have all sold very well in the East Coast. So those 2 are also interesting. And of course, if you are ready to buy this year, Seneca Residences definitely is the one to look at, which is available in January itself. And of course, if you want to buy for rental yield, I would think look at Blossoms by the Park or The Hill at One North. Those 2 are going to be, again, competing head to head. And for those who are going to buy One North, if you have a budget for 1-bedder, that kind of stuff, right, in the One North area. So those are the launches for it. So do let me know what you think about my 2 cents review. Which projects you find more interesting? What are your comments or feedback about the projects that you see here? Which ones you think will do better? Or if I said something which is contradicting your own opinion, do let me know as well. It's quite interesting to see. I'm pretty sure when Seneca Residences launch, it will do very well, and it will give the market a strong note. I think the market is still in a buy mode today. And although it may not be as hot as 2022 or 2021, prices may moderate in a sense or don't go up as much, but new launch prices today are still pretty high, and with so low stock, I think developers have no choice but to keep prices where they are. So if you have any other topics, do let me know. You can drop me an email or a WhatsApp on my Singapore or Malaysian number, or come to our Facebook, Malaysian Investors in Singapore. Do like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed our content today on my YouTube channel. And if you have any interest in any of the projects that I covered today, feel free to talk about it. No obligations. And Happy New Year, everyone. And thank you. Bye-bye.